Good morning and welcome to the show. This is the second part of dealing with stale offers in the CRM. That's a conversation that we began yesterday. So, if this is your first time of listening to the podcast, after you're done listening to this episode, for a fuller context, just skip back one episode and listen to the prior one, and you should be caught up to speed. One thing that I mentioned, or rather, one thing that I failed to mention in yesterday's episode was how we sort through the contacts through the stale opportunities that we have in the CRM. I just mentioned that we have to sort through to figure out who the dead leads are so we can get rid of them. Those who we're in continuation loops with, so whether we have to engage in relationship nurturing or we have to delete, and then who the promising leads are so that we can start following up on them and build those relationships and make that money at the end of the day. So I mentioned that there's a process of sorting through, but I forgot to mention the main mechanism for how we do that. And we do that basically by engaging in conversations with those people who are in the CRM. And these conversations can be audio conversations, they can be live, in person conversations. You call and hook up a meeting, or they can be text based. You send text messages or emails or whatever. So, whichever way that you are most comfortable with to begin that conversation so that you can start sorting through the folks. So opening up the CRM and then looking at it and saying that, okay, I spoke with this person 6 months ago, this must be a dead lead, and then you throw that away. No, that's not how it works. In order to decide whether it's a dead lead or not, we actually need to engage in some sort of conversation, and the information that we get from the process is what's going to determine whether we sort them into dead, promising leads or people that we're just stuck in continuation loops with. For instance, I mentioned that our real estate agent, Mr. Philip Nixon, that it's possible that he has some people on the list who are no longer in the market. That's because they have moved, so they're no longer in Abuja. Maybe they're now in Borno, and maybe the company that Mr. Philip works for does not have any property developments in Borno, so they've moved. Or it's possible that they're still in Abuja, but they bought a house, or circumstances might have changed and they're no longer in the market for a house anymore. Now, you can't tell this sort of thing by just looking at the list of contacts on your CRM. It is actually by picking up the phone and calling the person that you get a sense of, okay, they're no longer in the market. Or you visit them in the office, then you figure out that they're no longer in the market. Or you're texting with them back and forth. You guys are sending WhatsApp messages, Telegram messages, Instagram DMs, or whatever, and then you figure out that they're no longer in the market. So sorting through is always going to be based on a series of conversations that you have with the person, based on what you find most comfortable, whether live and in person, text, or audio. Okay, so with that out of the way, we can now deal with what the big question for today is. One carry over or carry on question that we had from yesterday was, what is a CRM? And then we also have to look at whether our real estate agent, that's our case study for today, Mr. Philip, whether he in particular needs a CRM. And the reason why that's important, from looking at whether Mr. Philip needs a CRM or not, by extension, we're going to be able to determine whether we, those of us listening to the show right now, need CRMs to run our businesses. So, on to part two. Okay, we've done how to sort through the conversations. Okay, yeah, so now the main question, what is a CRM? Now, for those of you who have been listening to the show for a while, you know what my philosophy is. I'm using working everyday definitions here. I'm not looking for technically precise definitions. So, if this is your first time listening to the show and you hear me define something and you think that's not completely correct or that's not complete, you're absolutely right. I'm looking for real short definitions that every single person can understand listening to the show. Whether you're a lawyer, whether you're an architect, a real estate agent, or you're a carpenter. I want a definition that is easy to remember, easy to reply. Easy to apply. So, customer relationship management, it's an acronym which stands for CRM rather, is an acronym, yeah. And the acronym is for Customer Relationship Management Tool. Some other people say Client Relationship Management. So, I guess the name itself is self explanatory. So the CRM tool is what you use to track the relationship with your customers or with your clients, because you need to know where are you now with this particular customer, what is the next step that you have to take, what are the things that you promise them that you're going to do, and what are the obligations that they owe towards you, what are the things that they have promised you. You might be running a business. Okay, back to Mr. Philip. So let's say Mr. Philip, you're a realtor. He's having conversations with, let's say, 30 people at the moment, right now, the 30 people that he has initiated relationships with in 2023. He needs to know where am I with Mr. A, with Prospect B, and with Madam C. What is the next step that I need to take with Mrs. E? What are the things that I have promised Mrs. Y? And how much is Mr. Z owing me? So you need to be able to track all of these things, and it's really hard to do if you're running it from memory. So that is what a CRM tool is, and that is what it helps you to do. Now, does Mr. Philip need one, our real estate agent? From the example that we've given so far, yes. I mentioned a number of customers that he's already dealing with. He could have initiated relationships with. Okay, let's see. We're currently in April. This is the 25th of April in 2023. So yes, it's possible that by now he could have initiated relationships with 30 contacts this year already. Now, so for some of these contacts, he's going to have to set appointments or meetings. It could be a first-time meeting. Maybe they've had the phone call, so now they're going to meet for the first time to discuss about what the guy's housing needs are, or what the family's housing needs are, or maybe the family's investments needs are, because some people buy development properties not to live in it, but so that they can rent them out as part of their investment or wealth building strategy. Then there are a couple of people that he's going to schedule some house viewings with, or some site viewings with. That's if they're building the house from scratch. Then there are a couple of people who they've gone through all the early stages, and now they're at the stage of signing the agreement or signing the mortgage. They're at the final stages. And there's some people that they're kind of in the middle, so they need some more follow-up visits. All those people who say, let me talk to my wife about this. I'm not ready to drop all this money on one house like that. Let me talk to my wife, or let me talk to my husband, let me talk to my children, let me talk to whatever, the people who say let me get back to you. So you have to be able to know and track who you have to follow up with. Then of course there are some people who you've signed the agreement and they paid a deposit but not completely, so there's a balance that is yet to be paid. Basically, there are people at different stages, and it's difficult to run all these things through memory. Now, if you only have 5 or 6 clients, yes, you can do this from memory. Well, I wouldn't advise it anyway. So let's say if you're brand new and you only have 5 or 6, that's too much. Let's just say 2 or 3. So if you only have 2 or 3 clients and you're new to the game, you're a new real estate agent, or you're a new wedding photographer, or you're a new architect, if you only have 2 or 3, yeah, you can run it from memory. But by the time you start hitting 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it becomes really difficult, and it becomes overwhelming. You need something that you can open up every day that shows you quite easily who's on the agenda, what needs to be done, who is owing me in terms of money, or in terms of some other action that needs to be taken to move this thing forward. Okay, so now that we settled that Mr. Philip, our real estate agent, needs a CRM, I guess you can ask yourself and consider your own particular business if you need a CRM. Without knowing any more details about what your own particular business is, I'm sure you figured out what I think the answer is, and I think the answer is yes. If you're an architect, the challenges would be the same. If you're a wedding photographer, the challenges would be the same. Even if you are a nail technician, I think that's what they're called. People who, you have a small shop in the market, and people come and they do their nails and things like that. It looks like a simple enough business, doesn't it? But even that, you are still going to need some sort of a CRM, because you're going to have to remember that you told Mrs. Kunle that she can come at Monday morning 9 a.m. If you tell Miss Kunle Monday morning 9 a.m. she should come to the market, you'll be there. But you forget that you also told Mrs. Bayo that, and you also told Madam Hadiza that. You're going to open up the shop at 9 a.m. and then lo and behold, these 3 women are going to be there, each of whom you promised 9 a.m. and they all want their nails done 9 a.m. because they have to report back to the office. One person has a departmental meeting, another person maybe has a PTA meeting, another person has some documents on her desk that she hasn't yet gotten into. And these are the kind of problems that you run into if you don't have a CRM. So even if you're a nail technician, you need to have a CRM. Who have I set appointments with? Who is coming to the market to meet me? Whose house am I going to? Because some people pay for home visit. I think that's what it's called. So whose houses am I going to? Who is owing me money? Last week, Madam Ogedengbe might have come and done her nails for her and her daughter and maybe her mom, but at the time she only had enough money to pay for one person, so she's owing me 20k, for the other two. You need something to track that as well, or else you forget about your 20k, and then that's how your money is going to go. So we need something to manage all these activities. Now, does it have to be a CRM software? Because if you if you hit up Google or Bing or whatever search engine that you use, you'll find that there are dedicated CRM softwares that handle these sorts of things. You install it on your computer, and that is all that this software does, or you install the app on your phone, and that is what it does. It tracks all these things. When was the last time you called Madam Ogedengbe? What documents did you send her? What document is she supposed to send to you? How much money did she pay on the deposit? How much is left for her to pay? Or how much do you have to refund client ABC or client XYZ? I mean, there's software that handle all these things. So there's Salesforce. That's a really popular one. Although that's for enterprise business, as in people that have hundreds and hundreds of salespeople in the organization. And there's also what's this one called? I can't remember. Is it HubSpot? I think HubSpot. I think so. I can't remember. Forgive me anyway. But the thing is, all these softwares, they are bound. But the thing is, it doesn't have to be this kind of software, this complex or this expensive. At least you don't have to do so, not yet. So for now, that Mr. Phillips is a member of a 6-person team I think there was 6. No, let's say 10, because it was 2 years ago, so I can't remember. So let's say there were a 10-person team in Kairos HOF. That's the real estate company that he works for. So, 6 people. Yeah, you probably don't need one of the expensive CRM tools. So at this stage, the team can work with anything that you can use to track all of this information and all of these steps. So Google Docs can function as a CRM tool. I know there's some people who are going to throw their hands up right now and say, I object. That was not the purpose for which it was built. It's not going to be an efficient CRM. And I'm going to say, yes, I agree with you. Google Docs, Google Documents was not built to be a CRM. And yes, it's not going to be the most efficient. But the thing is, for now, we just need something that we can get all this information off of and record. We have to take the pressure off our memory. So if you have access to Google Docs on your phone, by all means, start there. I know someone, a wedding planner, who uses Excel. He's the only one I've seen doing that, and I must admit it's not bad, because you know how Excel is. You open it, you put the person's name, and then you create it. You expand the field, and then you enter some information. Okay, we had the first meeting with them here. The next meeting was supposed to was supposed to compare packages and price, and then in the next one you put, okay, we had the meeting, this is what we agreed, and then you just keep expanding the sheet over and over and over again. And I just thought that was really interesting. So whenever he needed to know where are we with this particular client, all he would do is whip out his phone or his computer, wherever he is, open up the Excel sheet, and then everybody knows, all the team members, they know exactly where they are with this particular client. So that's simple. Do Excel. Then, but the one that I recommend the most is to use the calendar function on your phone. You don't have to install anything, it's just there. Especially for those of us who are Android users, you have access to your your Google Calendar. So even if your phone crashes today, you just go buy an inexpensive phone, and all your information is there. So that's what I recommend, using the calendar functions. There are different ways of doing that, but it's pretty straightforward. I'm sure if you just take it and fool around with it, you'll get the point. Scheduling people's names, scheduling their appointments, scheduling what they're supposed to do. So let's say you have Phillips. So let's say Mr. Phillips meets with somebody right now they have signed all the papers. So what is left now is the payment of the deposit for, let's say, 2 million or something for the keys to the house to be delivered. Real estate agents, please, I don't know how much houses cost in Abuja, so I'm sure the balance required to move into the house will be much higher, but I'm just freestyling. So, where was I? Okay, so so you record in the CRM that the person has signed the document and he has 1 week to deposit the 2.5M. So you just go into your calendar and then you shift the date by 1 week, or maybe I'll say rather shift it by 4 days, which would be 3 days short, so that way you'll be able to call him up or send him an SMS, sort of a reminder that, hey, Oga, what's up, the balance is due for Monday morning, that sort of thing. So that's how we can use the all these things: Google Docs, calendar, Excel, whatever. Now, some people use note-taking apps. I used to use note-taking apps like Evernote to do this, because you can make a note in the app and then it has its own internal calendar, and then you move it, and then on that day you receive a notification that you're supposed to call up this person, you're supposed to visit this person, you're supposed to collect money from this person. So there's note-taking apps like Evernote. There's OneNote. I think it's Microsoft. That's if you have a Microsoft phone. For those of you who have the old Microsoft phones, the Nokia phones that used to run with Microsoft. Forgive me, I'm not really a tech person, so I can't remember. Anyway, so there's Evernote, there's OneNote. Google has its own iNote. Let's see what else. And then there are also different project management softwares out there like Trello. So people also use project management software to track these sorts of things, rather project management apps. So you know that you've met this person, this is what you've done, this is what the next step is, and this is what the person owes you. So from the examples that I've given here, you can see that even though Philips needs a CRM, it doesn't have to be the expensive one that you see when you hit up Google. Start with Google Docs. Start with your Excel sheet. Start with your calendar. In fact, I recommend the calendar to most folks if you don't have one. If you haven't been using anything, use your Evernote, use your OneNote, use your Trello. Trello, I think that's a project management app. So whatever it is, bottom line is just get started. In fact, it doesn't have to be online. I know a wedding planner that I did training for her students. I think that was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And what they do is they have a filing system. Everything goes into the file. You finish a meeting with the client, you write it down in the file. Is there a next step? You write it down in the file. And once you write it in the file, then you now make a note in the main diary so that other people, other planners who come into the office and who look at the diary know that a meeting has been had with clients, so on. So this is what we have to do next to move this relationship forward. This is when the wedding is. This is what needs to be done next. This is what needs to be done next, and so on. So with that, I'll bring it to a close here. I can hear the little one crying, so my attention is sorely needed. Those are the joys of making recordings at home. All right, so let me be off now. So thank you very much for listening to today's episode, and we'll continue tomorrow on how to sort through stale offers in the CRM.